Hey Instagram, what's up? It's Tuesday in quarantine times, coming out of quarantine times. Where are we? What are we doing? I hope everybody's doing great. We are just all dealing, aren't we? Dealing with our virus and our country and all this craziness. But it's a good day to be alive, isn't it? It's a good day. Is it almost Memorial Day? Wow, what a long weekend we're all going to have. What a long 2 months we've already had. Hi, honey. My wife's on. Hi, Sarah. What's up, Amanda McCauley? It's Shruma. I am feeling good tonight. I reached out to a friend of mine. Haven't seen him. I guess I saw him about a year ago coming through Richmond. We got a very, very special guest tonight. A guy who is just a real, genuine, chill dude. And what's up, Buckethead Lab? Marshall Simpson, my neighbor. Walked by your house today with my wife. One of the founding members of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Mr. Verdine White, the bass player. You know that guy that looks so funky out there, high-stepping in his boots with his cool long hair and just getting it big time? That's Verdine. He's going to join here in a minute. And I'm thrilled because I got to work with Verdine and Philip Bailey and Ralph Johnson and the Horns and the whole gang. About 10 years ago, I recorded a song as Cleveland, and it's called Get Your Hump On This Christmas. And it is Earth, Wind, and Fire featuring Cleveland Brown. So go to iTunes or just Google it. Get Your Hump On This Christmas. And you get to hear me singing. Christmas has been bastardized, mass-marketed, commercialized, overly politicized to get the funk on Christmas. And Verdine is looks like he's queued up here. So I'm not going to waste this man's time. And I'm going to go ahead and add him to this. We're going to talk about cool stuff and hopefully living right. And I'm very excited to see my friend Verdine. And there he is. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike. How are you, brother?
I'm good. How you doing? What's going on?
I'm okay. Everything is good. Good to see you. Good to see you.
You too. You too. Got a little. Is that some hopper right behind you? Got a
What
cool
happened?
painting over your shoulder.
Absolutely, yes. A nice painting back in my. I'm in my study, you know,
Yeah.
and this is a nice painting, and this is kind of add a little atmosphere there. You got a nice backdrop too.
Oh, thanks. Oh, hey, look at that. There's Cleveland back there. That's from
All
the
right,
Cleveland show.
right, right. Love
That's
that. Love that.
He's back there. That's when we met. I think it was about 2009 or so.
That's right.
Um,
2009.
seem, Seems about right. And yeah, what a thrill that was working with you guys. I tell you that. I grew up. I grew up just absolutely loving Earth, Wind, and Fire, and to get to meet you and hang out, and you're just such a cool dude, and I'm glad you're joining me tonight, and we're just gonna just be real for a little bit.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Awesome. So, what I've been doing is I've just been talking to friends who have lived a fulfilling creative life, and we're talking about what it takes to be able to do that, and a lot of it's listening to yourself, and a lot of it's having the courage to act on these feelings, and then busting your butt for a long time till you till you get some feet under you. And
Right.
I'm curious. Talk to me about your musical beginnings when you were a kid. I think you're from a musical. I know you're from a musical family. Talk to me about your first memories of music and your first inspirations.
Well, of course, I am from Chicago, uh, and my late father was a doctor, and we had a lot of music in the house. And of course, Maurice, without question, older brother icon, was very inspirational, very encouraging. And coming from Chicago, you have a lot of music, from jazz to gospel to R&B to classical. So it had a lot of rich culture there in Chicago.
Yeah, man. So did you gravitate to the bass first, or what was your first? What was your first thing? Did you tap on the table? Did you play the glasses at dinner, or what got you going?
Well, really, the drums got the whole family going because my father, although he was a musician, played saxophone and did drums uh, and uh, and that was the easiest thing, obviously. But then when I uh, around 9 or 10, I started listening to bass on records, on the
Hmm.
45s coming out. And we had 45s back then, the big,
Oh
and
yeah, I
for
got a
all
bunch
those
of them.
for all those that remember. And but then when I around about 13, 14, I saw this upright bass in orchestra class, and I just gravitated to it. Or it picked. I thought I picked it. I think it picked me.
Yeah. Okay. And so you started plucking at that, and then when did you start? When did you collaborate? Were you collaborating with your brother at a
No,
very early age, or you were doing
no,
different things?
no. He was 10 years older. Reese was 10 years older, so he was already a pro. Uh, right after that, around 15 years old, I got into bass guitar, and I worked with a gentleman named Louis Satterfield, who was actually one of Maurice's closest buddies and our uh, uh, trombone player in the Phoenix Horns. And
Hmm.
he was a successful, popular bass guitar player. He played on all those hit records in Chicago, chess records, along with Maurice, Rescue
Hmm.
Me, and Fontella Bass, and all those great things. So I had a pretty good, you know, uh, good background, a lot of good guys that I was around at a young age.
Yeah. So you were so like you're in school, but you're kind of thinking, I'm gonna do this music thing. Was that it just from the get-go?
Yeah, well, it was great though. Don't forget all those guys were older. Now we
Yeah.
call them mentors.
Yeah, they
Back
paved the
then,
way.
they were called the cats. And so, but it was great being around all of them, learning music, and I learned actually probably quite faster than I would have learned in a different situation.
Right on, right on. So
Mhm.
then, so when did you start getting paid to play? Like, how did you, was there, so there's kind of no question. So would they hook you up with gigs and other people that you could play with? Did you play with them after a little while, or how did
No,
that?
I didn't play with them. As I said before, they were older. They were way older.
Right.
That was later. I wasn't cool enough to play with them.
They didn't let
You
you sit in.
I couldn't. No, 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 none of that. I played in high school. With high school bands and talent shows. So that's kind of like where I got my start, doing those kind of things. And then I gravitated to working with club bands, and I worked with a gentleman named Leon Pass. He had a group called Leon Pass and the True Sounds, and,
Okay.
and he was a drummer. Matter of fact, I spoke to him this week,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
and I got a little start with him back in the day. Way way back in the day.
Okay. So what was the progression? Then how long did you hang in Chicago? And then how did Earth, Wind and Fire come to be?
Well, Earth and Fire came a little later. Maurice
Hmm.
was starting Earth. He was in Ramsey Lewis's trio,
That's
and
right.
and he was starting to formulate Earth, Wind and Fire, put it together. But I was still doing those bar band club gigs. And
Hmm.
uh, and it moved. My life moved really fast from the time I was like 17. And I had a scholarship to the American Conservatory of Music, which I was going to do, and
Hmm.
uh, and I had it all planned. I was going to go to conservatory, you know, be in the orchestra as an upright player, African American classical player, and maybe play some
Hmm.
gigs on the weekend.
Right.
Maybe make a single or two. I
Right.
had it all
Right.
planned. Buy me a house for 50,000, teach. I had it all planned. You know, but
Okay.
uh, but Reese called me one day and said, "You want to come to California?" After he moved to California.
Hmm.
I said, yeah. And at that time when I came, going to California was like going to the moon. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and don't forget now there was no Earth, Wind and Fire. It was not what it turned out to be. So it was definitely not believable.
Right. So
But for me
you
it was
figure,
great. For me it was great because I came out at the height of the hippie movement. So it was really, music was on fire, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I stumbled across an amazing video, you guys, and I haven't watched it recently, but you guys are real young, and
Right.
you covered a James Taylor song on this set. Um, believe it, and then you came out and did the craziest, most awesome, inspired bass solo I've ever seen. And I'm going to email it. I'm going to find it and I'm going to send it to you because
Okay.
it's early days. And
I think I remember that concert. I think it was a concert where we did at the Cook County Jail in
okay,
Chicago. I think I remember that. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So we
So
played everywhere. We did everything back then.
yeah, yeah. Uh, so what was that like? I mean, what was life like? You when you moved out, did you like have an apartment set up, or was there a house that a bunch of you guys shared, or how did
No,
you?
I live with Maurice. I live with
Okay.
Maurice. And the first day I got there, and I said, "Where's my bedroom?" He said, "It's right here." It was the couch,
Oh yeah,
and so I was sort of like Reese's assistant. I'd answer the phone,
sure.
go to the dry cleaners, all that stuff, but it was great. It was great for a young person. It was great, um, you know, getting to really, really know him as an older brother, big brother, and
Yeah,
getting to know his dreams and me growing too. Don't forget, I was like 17, 18 years old, So when you're
yeah.
that young, you don't really know. You're just in it, You're just in it,
Right,
You
right.
know.
And then and that's in LA, correct? You're out in Los
Yes, Los
Angeles?
Angeles, right.
Okay. How different is LA now than it was from what
Much
it
more
was?
calmer, much more calmer. It's uh, it's more calmer. It's more structured. Then it was,
Yeah,
all over the place. It was wild hippies. You could hitchhike anywhere. It was
yeah,
uh, the clubs were on fire. You could see music anywhere, anytime, any day.
yeah.
Yeah,
I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Did you see that movie?
I sure did. That was a great movie. That was a really great movie. And for those of us, 70s heads, we know exactly what that's about, you know,
Yeah,
and the looseness of that movie, you know what I mean? Although
yeah.
the ending, they flipped the ending in that movie.
Well, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a
Yeah,
Hollywood
that's right.
ending.
It was what they wanted it to be, not what happened actually.
Well, yeah, no, of
you know,
course.
but I
But
thought in that movie it was a great movie. I thought the acting was superb. You
oh
know what I
yeah,
mean? And it reminded all of us what it was about. And everybody in that movie was cool. And that's what I
hmm,
dug about L.A. Everybody in L.A. was cool. Everybody.
yeah,
Am I?
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the vibe. I was just trying to imagine. I was trying to just close my eyes and feel what it must have been like. So much less crowded and no cell phones and just back in the day.
Right. And everybody was getting into health foods and things like that. Everybody's eating granola. And so we used to call it peace, love, and granola.
Oh
And
yeah,
so for a young person, it was very great. It was wonderful. I was with my older brother who I loved and respected, and
hmm,
and we were playing music, and I was playing like real music then. I was getting into music and all that.
yeah, yeah. You sure were. So so then so then when did you guys hook up with Philip and
Philip actually was with Philip was actually uh, uh, in Denver. We went with the first Earth, Wind and Fire. We went to do this gig in Denver, and I went
okay,
to the nightclub and I saw Philip play congas, and I went back to the hotel and I said, I just saw this great conga play. I didn't even hear him sing.
yeah,
And a year later, we went back to play in Denver, and Philip sang. And I said, is that the same person that sang?
yeah,
Who I saw play congas a year before that.
yeah,
And about maybe shortly afterwards, he moved to California, and
right,
he was the musical director of a group on Warner Brothers, and we were on Warner Brothers at the time, and Warner's at the time. And then one afternoon, Philip came over to the apartment, and Maurice was uh, he was gone for the afternoon, so it was just me and Philip, and we
hmm,
bonded really great. We talked a lot about music, and what I loved about it, and which we still have today, we're the same age, so we were able to share notes on what music was like for us. Whereas with Maurice, he kind of just threw us in the game, just threw it
yeah,
in, and you just had to hang on for dear life, you know.
right,
And but I liked Philip a lot, you know what I mean. I just liked him. I just liked. I thought he was a great person,
right,
and when that group broke up, it was just me and Maurice, and Maurice said, we got to get somebody. Who do you think we should get? And I said, oh, we should get Philip
yeah,
because he's great. He's a nice guy. You know what I mean? And we went to
right,
Philip's house, and so it was one thing led to another. One thing led to another. The Clive Davis thing, it's a process. It music, it doesn't happen overnight, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Did you just play all the time? Did you guys like do you still just pick up your bass and just mess around all the time, or I'm imagining when you're younger, you're just doing it constantly.
Yeah, we were doing it. Uh, we were playing all the time, eating cheesecake, and uh, uh, and ironically, none of us don't like cheesecake to this day.
Okay,
We hate cheesecake.
really? Okay,
That's all we had. That's all we had was cheesecake.
you got
And
sick.
but it was great. You practice all the time because don't forget, you're developing a sound too.
Yeah.
We were incubating. We were developing the sound. It
Hmm.
wasn't what we know of now.
Hmm.
You have to go back all those years.
So did you? I mean, obviously you're messing around with your instrument and you kind of find some little grooves. And did you just have like a little 4 track or 8 track? I don't know how many tracks you would have in
No,
your.
we went in the studio. We didn't do 4 tracks. We went
Okay,
straight
you
in.
didn't do anything at home. You always went
Well, we
into the
did it
studio.
home, but like you're right. You jam. We had rehearsals, but Maurice really had great vision. Reese had great vision.
Yeah.
And he was a great taskmaster. So he was focused. So he took us he took us right to the real deal right away.
Right.
Because he was
Okay.
not a novice. By the time he started working for, he was an adult. So he
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
exactly what he wanted. I think had it been just us, it might have been a 4 track.
Right. Well,
It
no,
might
no,
have
I
been.
wasn't. I wasn't talking about. I was just talking about using that as like a sketch pad, where you get your ideas down, then you go into the studio and do it for real. Like
Yeah, it wasn't even a sketch pad. We was just jamming,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then Marisa figured out what we were going to do,
Right,
song wise, and then it just progressed from there.
right. So Maurice was just had a vision,
Absolutely.
um, and uh, and you're learning from that. It sounds in some ways similar to Seth MacFarlane creating Family Guy, and me kind of going along and like learning so much from him, and then I'm able to do my own thing.
Right.
Um, And so Maurice, what was his energy like? Was he always thinking about music, always thinking about work, or could he relax? Like what was it like, just personally?
Well, yeah, at that time he was always thinking about music because we were on a mission. Don't forget
Hmm.
now we were the first group of color
Hmm.
to do what we ended up doing, which is now a normal thing.
Oh yeah.
Then we had to really focus, and we had to really focus because we were, we had a higher mission. Don't forget now you didn't really have the crossover thing at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our music was way out for what was going on at the time, particularly from groups of color. So
Yeah.
you had to focus. It wasn't like fun. You know,
Yeah.
playing music, but it wasn't fun and game. It
Right.
was serious.
You had something to
Yeah.
do. You had something to say. Um, yeah.
Yeah, we
So
were when you met us, we were like really cool. When you met us 10 years ago, like you said earlier in your introduction, how cool we are. We weren't as cool then. We weren't as relaxed as we are now.
right.
You know what I mean?
I get it. I get it.
Then
I
we were a
totally
little,
get it.
then we were a little edgy. A
Yeah.
little edgy, almost too edgy for the room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's I can relate to that as a young comedian. I was all business. I was, I, I was nice, but I wouldn't hesitate to make whatever joke if it was going to make some people laugh. You got to,
absolutely. And then don't forget, not being a comedian, you're up against another comedian,
yeah,
and he might be killing.
yeah,
You got to walk out behind him, so it's serious business.
yeah,
And the same with the music, especially when you're trying to get there, you're trying to find the sound, you're trying to find your space,
yep,
in the atmosphere of the music world. That's
yeah,
yeah, man.
yeah, yeah. So then when when did you came together as Earth, Wind, and Fire,
Yeah.
and the first song chronologically that I remember from you guys is Serpentine Fire. That was like
Okay. Oh,
the
you
first
got
song I ever heard.
you're like 5 albums behind.
Okay.
Okay, we had the first 2 albums on Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Then we signed with Clive Davis for Last Days and Times.
Mm-hmm.
That was that period where we did, you were just talking about James Taylor's tune. Then we
Mm-hmm.
did The Sky.
Yep.
Then Open Our Eyes. That's the Way the World. Gratitude. Then All in All, which Serpentine Fire was on.
Right.
So by the
Well,
time you had gotten to us, we had about 7, 8 years in the game by then.
that was, and what year did that come out? Was that like
77.
77? Okay, that was
And
the first.
that's when we started crossing over
Right.
because we
Okay.
had started doing, Sergeant Pepper and Got to Get You My Life. So really, by the time that album came out, we were kind of already entrenched on our way in the game.
Right. That that was the first song that I remember hearing from you guys when I was 11,
Okay.
and yeah, and I've got that that wonderful disc set that you guys put out a while back with all of that early stuff,
Okay.
and that's it's funny. I was talking to John Oates last night from Daryl Hall and John Oates, and
Right.
they too put out a great box set, and we're just talking about how some songs become hits, and it's just kind of very random how that happens because you're putting all the love into all of the songs,
Right.
and only some of them actually kind of make it through the radio waves.
Yeah. Well, in our case, Earth and Fire, we're the kind of group that you get turned on to us when you're ready because it's already there.
Yeah.
Because some people say, "Oh, I got your first record September." No, that wasn't the first one.
Yeah.
Or people say, "Oh, I love Let's Groove. That was my first record." No, that wasn't the first one. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Well, like for me, Serpentine Fire was the first one that
That's
I
right.
found.
That's right. And then don't forget now, all our records have been part of all the technology.
Oh yeah.
From 8 tracks to albums and
Yeah, yeah.
CDs, streaming, all that stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I've got a bunch of your vinyl upstairs, and so interesting. I had a friend, Larry Smith. He was my African American friend, my black friend back in the day.
Good.
We all grew up in this apartment complex, actually pretty close to where I am now. I'm in
Mhm.
Virginia, and Larry turned me on to you guys and Stevie Wonder, and I've just never looked back, and it's kind of funny. I'll confess a little bit. I didn't know that many black people, and because I lived in this, whatever. I just lived in this apartment complex, and Larry lived there, and
Okay.
so he turned me on to you guys, and it immediately just sort of opened up this whole other world for me, and it's hard to explain, but I felt
Right.
like I understood humanity better or something. You got me out of the present and what was all around me, and it just opened up the world. And I still, I've seen you guys a few times recently, and you know, a large. I mean, you guys have crossed over like nothing else. I mean, it's sort of just universal love that you guys are putting out there.
Yeah. Well, we have to thank Maurice for that because Maurice was always about uh, universal love and everybody getting into the music. When you play places, well, you saw it, yourself that night, and like we play places like Hollywood Bowl, you play New York, you play Chicago, and you see all kind of people in the audience.
Hmm.
And now it's not even crossover anymore. We're just part of the fabric of people's lives now. That's what it
Yeah,
is. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You know,
yeah.
because the
Uh,
crossover thing is more of an industry term. But you know, we're just part of people's lives. And now, people come up to me and they say they remember where they were when they first heard a record, and
yeah.
they look for the music and things like that. And Maurice passed away 4 years ago, and I'm still getting condolences.
Yeah,
Still,
yeah.
man.
I'm sorry. There's another one.
Yeah,
Um,
you know,
yeah. No,
and
I know my brother actually passed away uh, almost about 3.5 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But it's
so
but it's beautiful though. It's beautiful. It's not like heavy. It's beautiful. It's the way he wanted it.
hmm
It's the way.
hmm
Then one thing about Reese did everything the way he wanted it to do. And uh, the way he saw it. You know what I mean? And that's was so admirable about him.
Right. And so, I mean, you guys are huge all over the world. I mean, I think I have a DVD of you guys playing in Japan, and
Hmm.
that's the juxtaposition of the audience is pretty funny. Looking at that video, but again, you're just like you're hitting it for everybody. It's kind of great. I mean, it's really
But
great.
man, it's the music. Mike, it's the music. It's not us. It's really the music.
Yeah.
And one thing about it is the music is bigger than us. So it's a beautiful thing, and sometimes I've been in my car where uh, I'm at the stoplight and the guy's playing Earth, Wind and Fire, and he doesn't even know I'm in another car. You know?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing because it doesn't belong to you anymore; it belongs to the world, man.
Yes. Yes. And my God. So talk about that. It comes from within, you know, like you're a big meditator and we've
Yeah,
talked about this.
yeah.
Um, there's obviously such peace in that, and there's such you're such your presence. You're just so even, and and you let that creativity come up out of you, or do you feel like it's coming out of you, or that you're just sort of catching ideas, or how can you explain where these bass lines come from?
Well, first of all, I was allowed a lot of freedom. You know, I was allowed a lot of freedom to do those bass lines. Matter of fact, I had to go back and start to remember what I was doing. Because they're kind of like stream of consciousness.
Hmm.
That about in meditation and things like that. And now, particularly what's going on now in this pandemic, meditation has been talked about quite often right now.
Yeah.
As one of the tools to get through what's going on.
Yes.
Go a little deeper and catch the idea, catch the big fish, as we call it.
Yeah.
And and to uh, and not to be overly, heavy. It's just part of it, just part of the universe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Are you friendly with David Lynch? Do you know David?
No, I've never met David, but I was at a thing from Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
David briefly,
Yeah.
but I've spent time with Deepak Chopra and I had a chance to meet Rick Rubin in France this summer, and he's a
Wow.
big meditator, and he talked about meditation. I said, "Oh man, I love what you're talking about with meditation,"
Yeah.
and uh, and so it's great, and it gives me a chance, opportunity, like to break the day up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not like one big day. My evening's sort of like the second part of the day, just sort of picks up the second
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
I
Well, when
It's great to tune in. Your intuition's better. You're much more sensitive to people, and I think at the end of the day, you know, you become more compassionate, and which we're trying to find right now in what's going on.
yeah. Yeah. And my thing is and probably everybody is you just thinking about all those things you got to do all the time. And if you don't give that a break, when you meditate, it just all settles and you realize I don't have to do that right this second. I don't have to do this, and it just, it makes everything kind of okay. And I think you'll understand sort of a thought that I have. Well,
Mm.
first of all, when this pandemic hit and everybody was locked down, my first instinct was let me try to put some funny stuff out there. And so I got some wigs out of a box and did some silly character stuff. And then
Yeah.
I thought, why don't I talk about what's important to me, which is sort of encouraging people to listen to that voice inside them and follow it to a place that doesn't exist till they get there. Okay, so um, I encourage people to follow that passion. First of all, be in tune. Be in tune with what's inside you, what's barking at you, and then have the courage to act on it. And you'll get this part that all of consciousness is one. It's one. There's one consciousness out there, and so if you focus on what it is that you want to do and you do the work and you push and you push and you push and you get rejected, but you keep going and maybe change your direction a little bit, but keep going and you
Mm.
keep going, that stuff will open up for you eventually. It's all of humanity is connected, and so it will open up for you. Do you have a thought on that? Does that sound
Well,
real
yeah,
to you?
it's right. It's a process, and as you were talking about, we're all humanity, and right now, what's going on, we are having a collective experience
Hmm.
all together, and we are all processing it, in different ways. But this is a collective experience for all of us.
Hmm.
Whatever we all are going through, what how we are dealing with this, and I think people are connecting more than they've ever have because this is real. You know what I mean? Uh,
Hmm.
Loved ones and things like that, uh, and it's given us the opportunity to reset,
Yeah.
set, you know, and
Yeah.
so we will never forget this time, but we will get through this time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And it's I saw a great quote. There's a school that my daughter may end up going to at some point, and there was this wonderful quote from one of the people at the school about everyone's stressed that your kid will be behind now, and then the question is behind what? You know, it's you're not going to be behind anything. You're going to be more in touch with how plants grow or where the food comes from
Right.
or very very simple things that we've completely gotten away from in society. And I just think that's really what this is all about. Is what Don't worry about what you can't do. You can't go to the concert, you can't go to the ball game. What can you do? And I
Right.
think if you can think that way, it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. And then also too, we have to have compassion for the lives that have been lost too. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because this is not a movie. This is real.
Yeah.
And for the people that we don't know who are suffering,
Hmm.
while we're talking about creativity, a lot of people have not been able to do that.
Yeah.
Or that's not their story.
Not right now.
They're
Yeah.
like, and then at the same time, I'm hearing from tons of people who are playing our music right now, and so I just got through listening to, you guys, and to the world we're known as Earth, Wind and Fire, but then to the street vernacular, they say I just got to listen to the Fireman, and I had one of the tunes on the fire, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And some
Hmm.
people have gone back to Serpentine Fire, some people have gone back to different songs,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you reach out? How do you, is it putting out positive energy, prayers? Are you working with organizations to help people? Do you personally know
Well, we have
people
an
who are?
organization, the Verdine White Foundation on 4700 in Avalon, and we sent over a lot of mass. The pastor is Walter Davis. Walter's doing a great job. Actually, my wife was the one that actually put it all together in the building that we have, and uh, and they are really doing some great work over there. Before the pandemic, we were doing free breakfast every Wednesday for the kids, particularly in the urban cities, because, the urban cities had problems way before this pandemic.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, we're doing our part. And I tell everybody, do what you can do. You're not going to be able to do all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's too big of a burden for anybody. But just do what you can do. Just do what you
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you have any? I mean, it's hard to tell people what to do, but you can suggest things like what kind, should we tell people to seek out, charities in their area, seek out the needy in their area, like what.
Yeah, I think whatever moves you,
Hmm.
whatever moves you, you know,
Hmm.
it might not even be a charity. It might be just knocking on the door next door neighbor asking how they're doing.
Yeah.
It might be
Yeah.
that basic, right? You know what I mean?
Well, you know what it is, Verdine, is when everything calms down and when everything can settle, you're more aware. You might recognize that person walking by needs something, or you might remember, when you drove by that place, somebody was looking like, and then you can act on it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And then when we come out of this, we will, be more vigilant. I think we're going to be more aware,
Mm-hmm.
much more compassion,
Mm-hmm.
and much more gratitude, because as I said before, this is a collective experience. This is just not your experience by yourself. This is
Mm-hmm.
all of our experience together, you know.
Mm-hmm. Were you taught things like gratitude and giving by your parents? Is that where that was instilled? Because I mean, you're naming songs gratitude, like you guys. It's was that instilled at a young age?
Yeah, but not in those words. We were just uh, we were just nice people. My mother and father were just great people,
Yeah.
and lived by example. You know what I'm talking about. So it didn't really get into the names until actually, obviously, when we got into music and the
Right.
titles and things like that Maurice and Philip would come up with, and what we would all come up with, you know. And then obviously these are catchwords and catchphrases that people obviously can vibe with now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, man, giving. There's nothing like giving, man. I've told the story like my wife and I gave to a charity helping the Lost Boys of Sudan and the foundation that's going on over there. And the first time we ever wrote a big check, we were just crying. I mean, it was like, it's the best thing in the world is to do something nice for somebody,
Absolutely, man.
and gratitude that you can do that.
That's right.
Um, so that edge, that younger man's edge, and that anger, and that I got to do this, tends to kind of fall away as you have, get some successes, and then you start to reach that next level of life, and of kind of consciousness of like, well, how can I possibly give back? What can I do? Because I feel so fortunate.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, well, man, yeah. Do you any? You're not a preacher. You're just you lead by example. I was going to say, you got any advice for people? But I think you do it. You live the life,
That's right.
and it's in your music.
You,
And
you just live it. You do it. You just give and you just give and receive and give and just try to do good work and be the best that you can be.
yeah,
Yeah.
one more thing I want to touch on is the Kennedy Center. You got a pretty great honor last year.
Right.
Earth, Wind and Fire got the Kennedy Center honor. Um, you want to talk about that at all? What was that experience like?
Well, it was surreal. It actually took me about a month to recover from all that experience because it was out of body experience, and
Hmm.
it was great for the three of us, for Philip, myself, and Ralph, the wives, they were with us, and they did a great job, honoring Maurice and for all the work that we had done and things like that. So it was like being knighted. It's the highest honor you can get in this country for the arts, and
Yeah,
so it was a once in a lifetime uh, thing that happened that night. It was a beautiful night.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, I love what you do, man. I love you. I think you're just an awesome spirit and an incredible gift to the world, and your family, and Maurice, of course, and what you guys have brought. I mean, you just opened so much for so many people, and you just make people feel good. I mean, dancing is a meditation. Listening to your music and just not thinking is such a great release, and it's I just think you're great, man. I appreciate you jumping on here with me.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. And that was a great time we had in the studio. And we're going to do it again, too.
Yes, yes, we'll do. Christmas has been bastardized. Do you have that? I'll shoot you that video, just a link in case you don't have
Yeah, yes, yeah, I've said it to man. Yeah, and it wasn't long enough. I think we worked 12 hours that day, and
it.
then we had to catch a plane to get on the back on the road. We were only home for a couple of days.
That's right.
And it was great, and it was great working with you too.
Yeah. So didn't you I think you laid down the bass line was it in a hotel room?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I laid down the whole time, and then you had to get it back, right, and then
Yeah.
you and Philip had to do vocals.
Yep. Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Uh, and then we had to leave again that night to go get back on the road. So, and we wanted a gun too. We wanted a gun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I wrote a song that wasn't quite right, and we got in the studio, and it was just
right,
kind of like, we can't make this whole song about taking a poop. We better make it about enjoying Christmas and getting your hump on. So, but it happened quick. And my God, I learned so much in that day from you guys, just about vocal techniques and mixing techniques. And I mean, what a thrill. And then I got to go out to dinner with your band last fall. You guys were a night behind, but in Richmond, I took the fellas down to a place down in Richmond, and
right.
just such a great vibe of love, man. So anyway, I think you're great, and I look forward to next time.
Okay, and we'll do this again. Hugs to your family from mine. All righty.
Yes, right back to you, Verdine.
Hey, stay safe, stay healthy. All righty.
Will do. Awesome, man. You too.
All right. See you in meditation.
Yes. All right. Take care, Verdine.
All right, brother.
All right.
Love you.
All right. Love you, man.